Hello everyone, welcome back to another video. This is my reaction to the Newcastle versus Arsenal game. We've got a lot to get into in this reaction. The game ended 2-1 to Arsenal. I predicted 2-1, but I predicted 2-1 to Newcastle. I'm going to go through the first half, go through the second half, and then give you my opinion on the game at the end. So the first half, Arsenal were all over Newcastle. Nick Pope made some brilliant saves. There's a lot of controversy in this game as well, and we'll also go through that as well. So Arsenal all over Newcastle in the first half. Nick Pope made some brilliant saves. Not gonna lie, they should have been 2-3-0 up. If it wasn't for Nick Pope for Newcastle, they would have been. And this is where the controversy begins. Gyökeres was in on goal, and then Nick Pope come out, and this is where the controversy begins. I think it should have been a penalty. So what happened is Gyökeres was literally one-on-one with Nick Pope. Nick Pope sort of put his leg out, got a slight touch of the ball, Nick Pope did, but it was after Gyökeres got a touch on the ball, if that makes sense. So I think it should have been a penalty. And people saying about a red card, it's not a red card because Nick Pope genuinely attempted to win the ball. If he didn't touch the ball at all and just went in on the play, you know he was trying to get the ball, Nick Pope. It's not like Gyökeres was one-on-one and he thought, oh shit, I can't get the ball, I'm gonna have to just get the player. That didn't happen, so it's not a red card. But this is where the controversy begins, because Gyökeres sort of touched it into Nick Pope's leg. So obviously then Nick Pope obviously touched it, if that makes sense. But then he went through Gyökeres as well, so it's a bit of an iffy one. But I think it was a penalty. I'd understand if Nick Pope got a touch to the ball first and then took out the player, because goalkeepers can do that sometimes as long as they get the touch of the ball first. The referee gave the penalty and then VAR told him to look at the penalty. I don't understand that either. VAR is only meant to get involved if it's a clear and obvious error. And this is where this clear and obvious error thing does not make sense, because I would say that's not a clear and obvious error because it's 50-50, if that makes sense. If it's not a clear and obvious error, whatever the referee says goes, if that makes sense. And you know, as soon as the referee is told to look at the screen, you know they're going to change their mind because VAR's told them to look at it, and then they always change their mind. So I think that was a penalty to Arsenal. Obviously, I do not want Arsenal to win this game. Obviously because I'm a Liverpool fan and now they're only like 2 points behind us. It's a pain in the arse, but I can't lie, that should have been a penalty. I don't get why VAR got involved in that decision, because it's not a clear and obvious error. And this is why this clear and obvious error thing, I think it needs to go. I feel like if the ref makes a decision, whatever happens, you need to look at it on VAR, if that makes sense. Because you get clear and obvious errors that don't go to VAR, and then sometimes when it isn't a clear and obvious error, they go to VAR. So I don't understand. But I know I'm a Liverpool fan, I don't want Arsenal to win, but I can't lie that that should have been a penalty. So then Trossard hit the post, and this is when they should have gone like 3-0 up. And it got to the point with Arsenal when they had so many chances and Nick Pope was making so many good saves, it goes the other way, and you knew that Newcastle was going to get a goal. It just always happens. If the opposition has so many chances and like they should have been 3-0 up, then the opposition go and get a goal. And that goal come from Voltemada, Newcastle's striker, from a corner, I think it was. Yes, a corner. And he headed it into the goal to make it 1-0. So that's what I'd say in the first half. Arsenal should have been 2-3-0 up. If it weren't for Nick Pope, they would have been. The VAR decision was absolutely disgraceful in my opinion. So in that first half, I say it should have been 1-1. Obviously, Arsenal should have been like 2-3-0 up, but if they would have got that penalty, then it would have been 1-1, if that makes sense. So that's what I'd say in the first half. Also, I forgot to say, I said in my preview that if he started with Marino in midfield, it would be too defensive and they wouldn't win the game. He changed it and he put Eze instead of Marino in midfield with Zubimendi and Rice. and that gave it so much more balance, and they were so much more attacking during this game. Not gonna lie, I didn't think Arteta was gonna put Eze in midfield, to be honest, but he did, and Eze was amazing in the first half as well. Going into the second half, I was looking at the game and seeing how it was going. I was thinking Newcastle are lucky just to be 1-0 up and not even losing this game, and I thought to myself, they need to get a second goal here, because you know what Arsenal are going to do. I think they had so many corners again, and I just thought Newcastle needed to go for that second goal, and they didn't. They started defending for most of the second half, and it sort of went to a back five, if you know what I mean. They started defending while they're 1-0 up, and then Marino makes it 1-1 with a header. Nick Pope could not do anything about it, even though he was brilliant in this game. He could not do anything about it. He headed it down onto the ground, and it hit the corner, like the post in the corner, not the top post, the bottom post in the corner, and then went in. I think whenever it hits the post, you can't do anything about it. So yeah, so that made it 1-1 with Marino, and that's when I said I'll just be happy with a draw here, if that makes sense. Literally, I'll just deal with the draw here. And we also have to talk about Gabriel as well, because people are saying, is it a penalty? Is it not? Is it a penalty? Is it not? I would say, the thing is, no one knows what a handball is anymore. That's the problem. Like, they didn't give that handball, but in another game, you'd see it given. So no one really knows what's going on. I know he's sliding, and I know this whole, is it in a natural position? And obviously when you slide, your arm's going to be up, because you can't have your arms down your sides when you're sliding along the floor. But it wasn't like he was sliding, his hands were like here. It was like it was here. But what I would say is as well, it doesn't count if it goes off. It went off Gabriel's knee, and then it went onto his arm, so he can't do anything about it. So it isn't a penalty, but I would say if it didn't go off his knee or leg, wherever it come off of first before it hit his arm, it would have been a penalty. And then 90 plus 6, a Gabriel winner. And this is where Nick Pope had a stinker. At that point of the game, when it's a draw, even before the corner, the goalie should just be passing it around the back, because I think there was only like a minute left. Not even that, because yeah, 90 plus 6, and there was only 6 minutes added on. Nick Pope literally kicked the ball into midfield, and it went to an Arsenal player, and that's how they got the corner. And at that point, you'll just be happy with a draw. Just pass it round. As a goalie, just pass it round your back four, back five, and just let whatever happens. But he kicked it into midfield, probably trying to get another goal, and it backfired massively. A corner from Declan Rice, I think it was. Gabriel got a header with Gabriel's goal as well. If Nick Pope, because Nick Pope come off his line to try and punch the ball, missed the ball, and then Gabriel headed it in. If Nick Pope would have just stayed on his line, he would have saved it, because where Gabriel headed it in, Nick Pope, if he just stepped exactly where he was, but back 2 steps, he would have saved it, because that's exactly where the ball went. They deserved to win the game. They really did. They looked so good this game, Arsenal. I think that this is probably the best they've played all season, and probably for a good like 6 to 12 months. So I can't say they didn't deserve to win the game. They had a horrible penalty decision. Newcastle was shocking in the first half. That could have been a battering if Nick Pope didn't save so many shots. I felt like Eddie Howe, because they've been a bit iffy this season so far, I think he thought that a 1-0 just defend and we'll be okay, but obviously that backfired. They should have went for the second goal. So like I said, Arsenal deserve to win the game. They're only 2 points behind us now. I'm just gutted, to be honest. Man City are also looking quite good now. Haaland's on fire, so we're going to see how the season ends, but I feel like Arsenal are clicking into gear now, if that makes sense. So I really hope you like this reaction. Please let me know in the comments what you thought of the game and my thoughts, and also please can we get up to 350 subscribers? I think we're only 10-15 away. I'd really appreciate it. So remember to like and subscribe, and I'll see you all next time. Bye.